I see dead people.
Hot shit.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Fuck you too.
Go get in the fucking shower before we're gone.
I'm so glad I started recording on the screen. That's how we're gonna start the episode.
Okay, go get in the fucking shower. The shower game. Oh my god.
I can't wait to play the shower game with you guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what the shower game is?
Yeah, you take something and you plug it in and then you take it in the shower with you.
Oh, I recommend that game for anyone. I would definitely recommend anyone play that game, specifically with a toaster oven.
A hairdryer.
Hairdryer. Yeah, that's a straightener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got all of those.
Those are good. That's good recommendation. Did you tell Afternoon Groom to go ahead and take a shower with his toaster?
I did not tell him that, but it's implied.
It sounded like you were yelling about him playing the shower game.
I really just wanted to record it. I wanted him to go in the other room.
That is true. We've been talking for like an hour and a half now, and we were supposed to record before we had an audience, and now we have an audience. Mm-hmm. And it's fine.
I knew he was coming home, and I was like, shit, we didn't record yet.
It's fine that we have an audience. It's okay. It's not going to change anything. I'm just saying that they're here, and now it's different.
Yes. Happy Halloween. A happy Halloween to you.
This is probably coming out in mid-September.
Okay, well...
Still early, happy Halloween, happy early Halloween, happy, spooky September, silly September for everyone, because...
it's September 1st.
September for this year is pretty spooky, at least. For me, at least.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing horror nights on both coasts. Mm-hmm. I'm doing Halloween Disney parties on both coasts. I'm getting pretty spooky in September. That honestly, my October in perspective is looking less spooky. I don't know what spooky things I'm doing in October. I'm going to a wedding, and that's scary in a different way.
Yeah, it is.
But I think I try to go to Hell House every year. Mm-hmm. Because it's like 45 minutes away from my house. And it's a really fun haunted house, and that's where they filmed those movies. Mm-hmm. I took Kitty there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She had a really fun time. I like telling this story where, so at Hell House, in the first Hell House movie, when they go down to the basement, there's like this clown statue standing there. And like whenever they like look away from it and they look back, like it moved. And that's like the best part of Hell House, frankly, is this like clown costume that's like on a mannequin and it like moves when you're not looking at it. So we get down to the basement of Hell House, like actually at the haunted house during October, like September, during the fall. And this was a week after we did Knoebels.
Okay, that was October spooky season though.
Yeah. So I take Kitty down there. Taurus Filth is who I'm talking about, by the way. She's been on several episodes.
Kitties!
So I take her down there, and, the four of us who've seen the movie, which is me, Django Phillips, Alley Cat, and his fiance, we all see this, like, fog roll into the room, and the clown standing in the back.
Oh, no.
And every time it strobes, like the lights turn on and off,
moving.
He keeps moving to a different part of the room, like every time the lights go off. And when we open the door and the clown is there, I shit you not, Kitty goes, "Oh, look, a clown." And I'm like, "Kitty, no! Get away from it!" And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
It's just a clown.
And, like, she turns around and, like, looks at me to talk to me, and the light goes off.
Oh.
And when the light comes on, it's right behind her. And I'm like, "Kitty."
Every horror movie ever.
I'm like, "Kitty, don't fucking move." And she's like, "What? He's right behind me." And she turns around, she's like, "Oh, hello." And I'm just like, oh, fuck. Like, she does not care.
No, yeah.
Like, she wanted to be friends with half the people in that house. And they were trying to, like, kill us.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, this spooky little girl who's like, "You want to stay and play with my toys?" And she's like, there's like a dead body in the corner, and she's like, "That's my favorite toy," and Kitty's just like, "Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, let's go play.
We can play with that if you want to play with that. We don't have to play with that." Sure.
That's hilarious. I love that.
I hope she listens to this and hates my voice that I'm doing for her.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
lets
say,
me know.
I know you're trying to do her accent. You're trying.
But she has a great accent.
Oh, she does. I love it.
I have to try. So, anyway, my fall is looking front load spooky, back load question mark. So that's all I'm saying. So if we're getting spooky right now, that's fine. We're entering the spooky zone, the spooky field. And to introduce my guest here on today's episode, as you can see by the title card, I'm here with Midnight Bride. And it's been a little since I last had her on, but the last episode we were with her husband, afternoon groom, and she didn't want him on this episode. And I mean, you could quote me on that. She doesn't want him on this episode.
It's my turn.
So, so he's not allowed, even though he's already been on. He was yelling at her at the beginning of this episode when I pressed record.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to come back later too and interrupt the story, so that's fine. I just want everyone to be prepared for that. He's not actually on this episode, but he's going to be on this episode. So deal with that.
I told him to go get in the shower.
So that's probably maybe what you're hearing. I don't know if you're hearing that. Probably not. We also have a captive audience. She's here. She's listening. She's involved. But does she have a voice? I don't know. Does she have a character? I don't know. The best thing that she's contributed to the show is its alternative title, which we mentioned on Midnight Bride's first episode, which is when we mentioned that we were doing this together, because I had been doing the show for a couple years before I was able to actually record Midnight Bride's first episode, that when her sister found out we were doing this, she called my show Spaghetti and Meatballs. She said, yeah, what are you guys doing together? You gonna go do that Spaghetti and Meatballs? And I'm just
What's the name of your show again?
What's the name of your show again? Spaghetti and Meatballs? So that's what we're doing. Welcome to Spaghetti and Meatballs. This is the podcast where we talk about Italian food.
We're foodies here today.
And you have to listen to some really bad ASMR as we chew on pasta and gabagoo for like an hour and a half. So I hope you guys are ready for that. Welcome to Spaghetti and Meatballs.
Featuring Bambuna, a sugar cookie.
Featuring Sprinkle Bear. Which actually is a really good leeway to what's going on in this episode.
Oh yeah, true. It is.
Excuse me? You want to do that again?
Yeah, again? No.
Okay.
Maybe later you'll hear her snoring.
Okay.
Maybe.
Cool. I'm glad we entertain you that much.
She makes a lot of noise.
She made a little piggy noise, like a little oinky, like a little. So, what we're referencing, for those who don't know, is a small dog that is sitting on Midnight Bride's lap. What is a Frenchie?
No,
what
Boston.
Is it?
A Boston
Boston.
Terrier. Yeah,
completely different continent, completely different country. I fucked that up. I'm sorry.
Boston Terrier.
They look very similar, which is why I always fuck it up. She's real cute. I call her Little Goblin every time I see her because she got a little goblin face.
She does.
She's a little fart buckle.
She does. She farts so much.
That's a little reference for you D&D people out there. A little fart buckle right here. Yeah. So we're talking about a little dog. I'm talking about a little dog because you know, on today's episode, the story we're reading is called Good Dog. But here's the thing. First question, what did you ask me when I said that this is the story that we're reading?
Is it going to be sad? Is the dog going to get hurt?
So that's the thing, right? You know, that's a funny story. That's a funny story because we also have your sister here, and that's pretty funny because I remember I made you guys watch VHS 2.
Yes. Oh my god.
And you guys wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me like sleep. You wouldn't forgive me for that the Alien Slumber Party movie.
Oh my god, I remember.
So
that.
clip
I'm
number
upset.
3 in VHS 2 for the uninitiated is the Alien Slumber Party Massacre, I believe it's called. And in that clip, because VHS is a first-person video, so like Blair Witch, Cloverfield, like taken by hand, and this one is like a GoPro attached to a dog, and you kind of see this family get abducted by aliens over the course of like 15 minutes, and of course, like at the end, the dog dies.
Oh my god.
And they were both very upset with me after not warning them that that was going to happen. I mean, no one wants to watch... Everyone who sees an animal show up in a horror film, like, should, like, immediately come to terms with the fact that the animal is going to die.
No, because in the
Right.
first Alien movie, I just watched it
Yeah,
recently.
Jonesy. I know, Jonesy.
Yeah.
Jonesy's
kid
like a
makes
final girl, though, because Sigourney Weaver...
Yeah.
Ripley is just like, get in the fucking cage! So that's fine. She's allowed that. But, like, we can really just blame Stephen King, right?
Yeah.
Because Pet Sematary,
Oh god.
the cat is, like, the first thing killed. Cujo,
Oh, yeah.
dog rabies. You know, like, what other, like, horror can you think of that has an animal?
So, I Am Legend.
Fuck, yeah, that one
So,
kills me.
My dad
Max?
had me watch it, and I said, "Is the dog gonna die?" And he said,
Yeah.
"No, no, no." And I said, and then the dog.
Literally the worst
dog-
fucking scene.
Yeah, and I said, "I fucking hate you. How dare you?" He's like, "You wouldn't have watched it unless, like, I lied to you." And I was like, "I wouldn't have." And I would have lived my whole life perfectly
I mean, I
fine.
love the movie because of that, though. Because, like, that hurts more than the original ending where he kills himself.
Yeah.
In the original ending, Will Smith takes a fucking grenade and blows himself up. In the director's cut, he survives.
I
And
saw
I'm-
the one where he blew himself up. That's the only one
well,
I
I
saw.
mean, everyone did. They
Yeah.
released the director's cut on actual DVD when it came out later. But, like, the cut everyone saw, the dog dies in every cut. Everyone. The dog dies in every cut. And in every cut, it's fucking sad.
It's horrible. It's horrific.
It's so sad. And, like, what's worse is that, like, he has to put it out of its misery. So he, like,
I know.
fucking, like, breaks its
Oh,
neck or, like,
it's
chokes
horrible.
it or some shit. It starts to turn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
so
got
he,
bit.
So he fucking, like, chokes or breaks its neck or something. That kills me. I hate that shit.
I hate it. It really upsets me.
That makes that movie good, though.
I don't care how many people
Because there's
die.
emotional depth.
I laugh every time somebody gets murdered because they're stupid.
You just reminded me. Another cat that survived. The new Quiet
Oh yeah,
Place.
we saw it. Yeah,
The new Quiet
Day
Place,
one.
Day One. That cat.
that
It's
fucking
like,
cat.
It's like the protagonist of the movie.
It causes so much so many
I
problems.
mean, yeah, you're right, but it also saves.
Yeah.
It saves Joseph Quinn like 3 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It teaches him how to like step in the one scene.
It does.
But like in that last moment when she's just like, take my fucking cat and make a run for it.
I know, I was like,
I'm like,
oh.
nothing better happened to this fucking cat. And I was like, he jumps off that dock at the end. I was like, they were right there. What? They almost grabbed him.
I know, they were
And
so
like
close.
I'm like thinking of all the scenes where like underwater for like a bad amount of time. I'm like, that cat's dead. I just keep waiting for them to get out of the water and to like flop the dead carcass onto like the pavement. But no, like every time they get out, the cat shakes the water off and runs away, and I'm like, what the? That cat would be dead.
I just feel like that's how cats are, though.
I mean, cats are like that, but there's like an entire scene where
I
they get
know,
like
they
sucked
were.
out of a pipe.
Yeah,
And
I
they're stuck in a
remember
pipe for like a full 3 minutes, and it's like that cat's dead.
They were like in the subway and
Cats
half of
aren't
it
like
got
people where they
Yeah.
like learn how to hold their breath
Yeah.
and shit. Like, no.
No.
That's how animals drown, because they're not smart enough to understand that. They just immediately let water into their lungs and they die,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Either you know how to swim or you don't, and cats aren't the animal to know how to swim, right? But anyway, I was really happy when that cat survived, because
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
like, holy shit, was that close.
I wasn't emotionally prepared to watch an animal like get hurt and die. So I was like really
No.
happy that
Well, I mean, no one usually is.
I was happy that the cat survived. My sister and I were like, yeah, the cat's okay. The cat's okay.
I love to talk about this one all the time. Signs. In Signs, they have 2 German Shepherds, and both of them fucking die. One of them lunges at Little Miss Sunshine, and Rory Culkin has to put a fucking poker in his neck.
I remember I watched that with you. Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry, it lunged at her. It lunged at Bo. I had to kill him, and he's like having an asthma attack. I was like, oh well, that's gruesome. You literally see like the sheriff deputy like pull the poker out of his neck.
Yeah,
it's like a barbecue tongs or something. Like pulls it right out of the neck, and you're just like, ah, damn. And then later, when they're having the sad dinner, which is like the best scene in the movie, other than the speech that Mel Gibson gives, that scene is the scene about miracles or coincidences. I fucking love that scene. When they are having sad dinner and the aliens try to break into the house, they forget to bring the dog in.
Yes, and then they hear the dog.
And they hear it just like whine and slowly silence. I was just like, that fucking dog's dead. That's so sad. I don't like thinking about this.
See,
that movie scarred me as a kid.
We keep our dogs in the house. They sleep in the bed with us. You know, we have strollers.
Oh, I'm the same way.
We have strollers.
That's where you lose me a little bit. The strollers is where
we have a stroller for our dog. We have a car seat for our dog.
Both of those things are where you lose me a little bit. You also have clothes for her.
I do have clothes for my dog. I do.
That's where my mom overlaps with you, but I don't quite cross that threshold.
Well, you should see our Christmas cards this year. They're going to be pretty awesome.
Looking forward to it. Already looking forward to it.
Yeah, we have all the outfits ready for our little baby.
Did I tell you that for Christmas for my mom, I made a calendar?
No, you didn't.
Of her 2 dogs in different outfits to represent all of the months.
Oh my god, no, I can't. You have to show it to me later.
It's really funny.
I want to see it.
Just remind me. Remind me or I'll forget.
I gotta see this dog calendar.
I edited all the photos to be like really funny.
Oh my god, I have to see this.
They're really cute. Cause she has so many outfits for both of them.
I keep buying.
Not just the female. Like you'd think she only has ones for the dog that she loves. I mean, she loves both of them, but she likes one of them more than the other. So it's just like, you'd think she'd only have outfits for that one. Wrong. She has an entire closet for both of them.
I'm getting pretty bad for mine. I need to get, like, a storage container for hers.
Here's the funny thing. Dogs don't need clothes.
She gets cold, so she does.
I mean, that's fair.
She does. She gets
cold. That's
cold.
fair. I literally, like, not 20 minutes before recording this, saw her cowering in front of the heater. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
I have the air conditioning on because it is still hot out.
It was like 100 degrees yesterday.
She likes.
I'm sunburned.
She likes to be warm. She likes, like, her stomach turns pink, her face turns pink. She loves to be hot.
When my brother's dog sat outside for maybe 5 minutes today, she immediately started panting and like scratching the door to get back inside with the air conditioner and like a nice big bowl of water. She was like, "This is too much. I'm not sitting out here."
She doesn't like it outside when it's hot. Okay. She wants to be hot in the house. I don't understand it. I think it's like the sun's too much.
Congratulations. I hate that. She took it personally.
Yeah, she's like, no, don't look at me.
Well, that's fair. Anyway, the title of the story today is Good Dog. Why? I don't know. She asked me if a dog is going to be in the story. I said, I don't know. She asked me if the dog is going to die in the story. The answer is I don't know. Because I don't vet shit. I don't read anything. We read it here together and we figure it out as we go along. Now, because I was worried that we were going to enter like #triggered territory, I did kind of skim it, and I want to be honest. I don't think there's a single fucking dog in this story. And that makes you ask yourself, hey, well, Captain, why are we reading this fucking story if it's called Good Dog and it's not about a dog? Well, there's different types of dogs, my friend. Just like there's different types of bitches. You know what I'm saying? You hear me over there? You got that? Good.
Bitches.
So listen.
Bitches love cannons.
So listen. Good dog, I think, in the context of this story, is someone who enters a relationship with, like, the worst person ever, and they keep him on a leash like a tight fucking leash. Like, you know, like everyone's got that friend, right? Who like has never been in a relationship before and they suck at everything. And then they get a girlfriend for like the first time and they stop talking to their friends and they stop hanging out with everyone because they simped for their fucking girlfriend.
Oh.
And so
Call out.
and so
It sounds like
and so they disappear. They disappear from like everyone's life because they're on such a tight fucking leash from this awful person that took them from everyone else.
Emotional damage.
And it's just like, is that the story we're going to read today? I don't know. We're going to figure it out. But like, that would be fun. Worse than a dominatrix, because
two dominatrix.
this is someone who controls someone to like the highest extent that they're not even themselves anymore. They don't have choices. They're just like a slave.
Psychological.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Invisible Man, where she goes nuts.
Yeah. That's gaslighting to the extreme. Because everyone thinks you're fucking crazy. When really there's a dude walking around with a camera suit made of like 800 cameras. Yeah. Because that exists. That's cool. Lee Winnell, shout out. He's making a Wolfman movie. It looks pretty cool. That's, you know, it's on next year probably.
Oh, really? That sounds...
Anyway, Good Dog. What do you think the story's going to be about?
I think you're right. I'm like already starting to kind of take a look, and it's like
Relationship stuff?
Yeah, it's like
School?
kind of, yeah.
School time? School kids?
Something.
All right. And we could also figure out voices, because naturally, if there's a girl in the story, I'll have you read for it.
Okay.
Because if there's a girl in the story, I'll read for it.
Okay.
But if there's boys in the story, I'm joking.
I will read any
I don't want to do that.
I will read any part.
All right. This story also comes to us from superfan Danny. I don't know if you listen to the show anymore, Danny. I don't know if you're still alive, Danny. It's been a while since I've heard from you, Danny. Danny, did you unsubscribe and kill yourself? Because I don't want you to do that.
Danny, don't do that.
Danny, don't actually do that, but do that if you want. So listen, Danny. Danny's really funny about Semitic stories because last Halloween,
oh god,
me and Ramses read an entire episode of stories that Danny had submitted to me, and they were some of the worst stories I've ever read on the show, and it made it really fucking funny.
I think I remember this.
It was one of the funniest episodes I've ever recorded because all of them were bad, and we loved every second of it, so thank you, Danny. That's the thing, though, about short stories, is because, like, you're wondering if your mileage for shit is just, like, it's just 7 pages. This is a longer story. We're only reading one long story in this episode. So is this just going to be, like, an hour of shit?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Exactly.
Is it shit or is it not shit? That's the game we're playing today.
Good Dog.
Is it shit or is it not shit?
No, so it could be some good shit is what I'm saying. Good Dog.
Shades.
50 Shades.
What's your favorite color, Punk?
Good Dog. From Creepypasta, which also means that it has a likelihood of being ass.
Okay.
Because creepypastas tend to, like, they lean into, like, creature features and, like, B-movie territory, where I feel like No Sleep is more like A24 Neon, you know, if like, film allegories. Anyway, I'm going to start the story. Good Dog, Creepypasta, from Danny. He didn't write this or anything, I'm just saying it's from Danny.
Danny boy.
Oh, Danny boy. Kevin. Lead character name's Kevin. Kevin felt the... Nope. Yep, that's already wrong. We're already off to a bad start. This is what the actual sentence says. Kevin felt all the air leave his lungs. I'm gonna redo that.
Oh.
Kevin felt all the air leave his lungs. I would love if this was written by AI.
Santa Bones.
We need to figure out if that's something we could do. Somehow, every time it happened, it caught him off guard. He had been I mean, I don't know if anyone's air leaving their lungs would ever not catch them off guard, because in certain situations, like... Okay, whatever. He had been going to school with Aria Mae Pearson for nearly 4 years now, so it wasn't like this was the first time he had ever seen her, but coming back from the 10-day Christmas break, it kind of felt like a lifetime, and thus the involuntary reaction. Aria was standing on the far side of Barton Middle School's inner courtyard. Okay, some 12-year-old love.
Mm-hmm.
The best kind of love. The fleeting love. The boner love. The center of gravity for it, quote-unquote, crowd. And waiting, as were they all, for the last bell to ring. Signaling students to class before they were counted tardy. It seemed that she grew more beautiful every time he saw her, even on a daily basis, and this was no exception. The cold January air gave her cheeks a rosy glow that accented her strawberry blonde hair and whatever pinkish lipstick she was wearing that day. Kevin was pretty sure he knew every line and detail of her face, having stared at her yearbook picture more than he would ever care to admit. Hey, we've all been there.
Not at 12, though. When we were 12.
Okay, I've been there.
The guys in my grade at 12.
We
wow.
all had that Wendy Pfeffercorn, you know what I'm saying? That girl that you were just like, damn.
I feel ya. At 13,
Yeah. That's puppy love.
I was into...
Good dog. Puppy love.
There you go,
There-
puppy love. There, we found it.
I do
Title of the story.
Cards though at 13.
That's true. That makes you a virgin. That's cool. All right,
cool.
seventh grade had been a living hell so far. Okay, so 7th grade, yeah, you would be 12.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more of a punishment than a chore. And there were days that he woke up crying at the prospect of having to come. How many times had he faked having the flu? The only redeeming factor were those few moments in the day where he would put his own eyes on Aria, and if he was lucky, was able to talk to her. He couldn't exactly say it made it all worthwhile, but it was certainly Kevin's biggest motivating factor for leaving the house each day. Christmas break had been a wonderful reprieve, and he savored every second of every day that he didn't have to deal with Bruce and his band of mindless minions. That entire morning, as he sighed and hem-hawed his way through getting ready for school, there was nothing but utter dread. But now that he was back, well, he definitely missed seeing her. Aria was smiling and laughing. Oh, what a smile. She was talking... I hope so. Fucking cheese grater. She was... Ouch. Ouch indeed. She was talking to a group of girls that had always gathered around her like moths to a flame, telling a story. Probably talking about her amazing Christmas break and all her amazing presents. Although, even if it were mundane, Kevin would have probably found it amazing. There was no way that any aspect of her life wasn't lifted straight from a fairy tale. It was always that way in the many, many, sometimes somewhat confusing dreams he had about her. Google said it was infatuation, but Kevin knew better. It was love.
It was a wet dream.
Aria finished her story and everyone laughed, of course. She began to look around with her brilliant blue eyes until she was looking at... Oh crap. She was looking at him. Despite the 40-degree weather out, Kevin's body temperature rocketed up, and he began to sweat, his cheeks going flush. Butt cheeks. All this from a look. He thought to himself, man, that's pathetic.
I have swamp ass.
I was going to say, weird, awkward boner. I couldn't control that at that age.
I heard
You know
that
what I'm
guys
saying?
can't at that age.
What?
You just look at something.
Get
it's
a
like,
random
"Oh."
get a random boner.
Yeah.
Oh, I've mastered it.
Honey, it
Flip
doesn't
it up
take.
in your waistband.
He just. It doesn't matter. It could be anything.
Yeah, do you ever do like in high school, like you carry the books too?
Oh yeah, I've done the books.
Yeah,
I've done the books. I've done the backpack. Like, oh shit.
Oh, I'm so glad I wasn't a
But you wear like you have like the baggy shirt enough for?
No, never.
No.
I was like tight. I was tight jeans.
toy.
I was tight jeans.
I was also
too.
really fucking skinny, like all throughout middle school and high school. So like for me, it was awkward.
I mean, I was too. But like,
I just didn't wear baggy clothes. Nah. I was like this. I was literally in like the Panic, My Chemical Romance like era of growing up.
Same.
So like the tight jeans and the skinny
chain
shirts
belt.
And,
I never had a chain belt. I
the straightened hair.
Oh yeah, I keep flipping it to
The
the
long,
side, and you like cranking your neck.
Definitely.
I'm still in that emo phase.
Anyway. He hoped she wouldn't notice in her passing glance. At least he expected it to be a passing glance. It wasn't. With her eyes locked on his, she began walking in his direction, and the group of girls parted like the Red Sea in her wake. With her gaze still on him, she smiled and waved and closed the distance. Instinctively, Kevin looked behind him, and there was no way she was waving at him, yet it seemed like maybe she was. His heart began pounding. So furiously, Kevin could hear it in his eardrums. Aria Pearson was walking to him. This was new territory, and not having a clue what to do, Kevin put his hand in his coat pocket and waited nervously for whatever might be getting ready to happen. Most likely, she would just walk right past him, maybe have a giggle at his expense for being stupid enough to think that she wanted to talk to him. Except, that wasn't Aria. That was an angel.
What? You don't wave?
She was right next to him, and he turned again to make sure she wasn't talking to someone above his head, and he was pretty short for his age. Me? It took a lot just to get one word out, and Kevin struggled to remember if she had ever spoken to him before, other than to say,
"No, silly." Oh, sorry. Oh, hello. No, I missed that whole part.
Do the, like, meme version where, like, you're sleeping and I pour the bottle of water on your face.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
I always like that. Hello? All right.
Oh, no, silly.
She giggled.
The group of monkeys behind you.
She smacked his arm playfully. And Kevin feared the very real possibility of passing out from blood loss to his boner.
Makes sense.
He tried to keep his breathing steady.
Duh, you. So how was your Christmas break?
Had he stepped into an alternate dimension? Was Aria Pearson really striking up a conversation with him? Kevin was in no way prepared for this scenario this morning, and if he had anticipated it, in the least, he would have stayed up all night preparing his words. It wasn't that he wasn't a smart kid, he was. Everyone knew that he was the one that kept the grading curve so high, but when he was around Aria, something about his brain just wouldn't work right. Synapses misfiring or not firing. Basically, his mind went to mush. Come on, man, you could think of something good. Wow her. He wasn't sure, and, it was good. Was the best thing he could come up with.
Oh, well, that sounds exciting.
She wasn't giving up.
Did you get anything cool?
He did, actually. His parents gave him a whole slew of expensive video recording and editing equipment. He had basically built a full studio in his room, and if he were so motivated, could probably film and edit a full-length feature.
A porno.
Boner. Telling her about that would be the perfect seg into his aspirations to be a Hollywood director, and before long she'll be captivated by his casting couch. She'll want to say she knew him when he was a nobody. I guess.
You guess. Really?
Last chance. I got some, video stuff. No one would ever accuse him of being a professional pickup artist. Kevin actually had many talents and a bright future, but social awkwardness was really his forte.
Oh, well, that sounds cool.
She leaned in close and wrapped her arm around his. He could smell her perfume and feel her body heat. At least in this position, if he did get tunnel vision, she would keep him from falling, or he would bring her down with him.
So, oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, listen.
Her breath smelled like cinnamon.
I know we don't really talk a lot, but I was hoping maybe we could work out a deal of some kind.
Kevin had no idea what she was talking about, but he could listen to her speak until the end of time.
You know, Mrs. Lash?
She asked, and he did, of course. Everyone did. Having taught algebra and pre-calculus at the school for nearly 40 years, she had a reputation that preceded her, and without a doubt, a difficult woman who taught at an unforgiving pace. What Doris Lash was really known for was her lisp and the ensuing spittle that it brought forth. Her classrooms, surprisingly, had no assigned seating, which led to students, despite what one might think, hurrying to be the first ones in. The later one got to her class, the closer the front one had to sit in her classroom. The closer one had to sit to the front. The wetter one tended to get. Yeah, I know, Mrs. Lath. He imitated the old woman's lisp, bringing Arya to genuine laughter. She even doubled over a little, pulling his arm with her. He didn't mind.
Stop!
She cried.
You're gonna make me pee!
The image brought a fresh coat of crimson to his face.
That's her dead on. Jeez, I didn't know you were so funny.
Neither did he.
So, anyway, I'm getting killed in her pre-calc. I missed 2 days last month with the flu.
He remembered.
And her lesson plans just go so damn fast, I could never get caught up. I swear that woman's like a Nazi.
Kevin nodded in agreement. He didn't really think Doris Lash was like a Nazi, but she could have said a pizza-shaped snowboard, and he would have agreed with her.
And I know that you're like super smart and shit. So I was hoping maybe you could help me catch up. You know, like tutor me and stuff.
Was she really saying what he thought she was, or was he still in bed, asleep, boner in hand?
Don't get me wrong. Oh.
That seemed like the likelier of the two.
Don't get me wrong, Kev.
His knees nearly buckled as he had no idea she knew his name, B, had never heard her say it, and C, had never been called Kev by anyone at school before. This... His boner. This had to be a dream.
I don't expect you to do it for free or anything. My parents will pay you for your time and everything. I was thinking that you could just come home with me for a few days next week, and my mom can give you a ride home afterwards. Heck, we'll even feed you a great dinner too.
Come home with her? Dinner at her house? What was happening?
So, you know, just think about it and stuff, and, you know, just get back to me.
She leaned in and kissed him on the cheek. Her
shit.
lips were moist and cold, and the world began to spin. She turned, her blonde hair flipping in the wind, and walked away without looking back. She probably assumed that he was looking at her derriere. Most guys did, but Kevin wasn't seeing much of anything. The blackout he had been fearing was upon him, darkness eating away at his periphery. Taking a few steps backwards, he found a wall to brace himself on as he took large breaths of cold air, in through his nose and out through his mouth, praying the whole time that he wouldn't go down. There were certain things that were never lived down, and passing out in front of the classmates from a peck on the cheek would certainly be one of them. For this moment his prayers were answered, his vision returning while his temples pounded with his heartbeat. The whole process was only a few seconds long, but it felt like time had stood still. Once fully recovered, Kevin pushed himself off the wall, except it wasn't a wall. It was a type of fabric, but whatever was beneath the fabric was as solid as a wall. And slowly and with a fair amount of dread, Kevin looked up and over his shoulder. Shit. It was exactly what he expected it to be. It was Bruce Brian Botti. Triple B. B cubed. With a name like Bruce Brian Botti, one might think that the boy received some degree of teasing growing up. He didn't. Bruce looked like he should be graduating high school, not yet to go into it. It didn't help that he had also been held back 3 times in his scholastic career so far. Bruce towered over his classmates. Hell, the kid was bigger than a majority of the guys on the high school football team. He wore intimidation on his sleeve as a badge of honor and wielded fear like a fine-tuned weapon. You would be hard-pressed to find one who would admit it out loud, but it was obvious that even the teachers were afraid of this not-so-little monster. After so many slashed tires, homes broken into, and threatening calls were made, they just wanted to wash their hands of him and push him onto the next level. Let the high school authorities deal with it. It became that way for his whole little group, his disciples, Andy March, Carrie Dowell, and Mark Winchester, were good-sized ruffians themselves, but much closer in stature to their fellow classmates than this giant they followed into mindless mayhem.
Just Eric Cartman.
It was them, all of them, that were standing behind Kevin when his vision returned to him, life somehow going from one extreme end of the spectrum to the other in a blink of an eye. Bruce leaned down into his face, gave him a little kiss. His greasy black hair falling over one eye. Pretty girl.
Emo.
Pretty girl, he hissed menacingly with cigarette breath. There was nothing kind in the compliment. Get your little kiss, did ya? Kevin couldn't move, frozen with fear. So I guess you haven't heard, and that's okay. We've been gone for a while, so the news hadn't gotten the chance to get around. The brute's crew laughed cruelly. Kevin didn't get the joke. But I'm gonna clue you in right now. Bruce shoved one fat sausage finger into his chest, pushing Kevin back several inches without even trying. Me and Arya are a thing now. Arya and I. As soon as I heard the words come out of Kevin, was wondering where the hell they came from. He was way too smart to have just corrected Bruce's body, and yet, there they were. Even Bruce's own guys were shocked, enough by the reply to look at each other before turning their heated glares back his way. There was a time, back in 3rd and 4th grade, when Kevin and Carrie were actually good friends. They had been to each other's homes for sleepovers more than once, having heated video game battles until the sun came up. To even admit something like that now would have resulted in a hailstorm of insults and a beating from his crew, so glowered at Kevin just as hard as the rest of them. Oh, Bruce snarled, literally showing the top of his back teeth. Thank you so much. You know, Four Eyes, I don't know what I would do without you. And then leaning in again close and just above a whisper.
Gave him another kiss.
Gave him another little kiss.
On the lips.
Maybe we should find out. Kevin was just starting to wonder if it was possible to pass out again so quickly when the bell rang for class. The 3 seats of double doors that led into the main building all opened as a flood of students poured in from the cold. Mr. Hopkins, a history teacher, and Miss Powell, a science teacher, even stepped out of a door to oversee the process, and they both made the situation immediately. Walking much slower than they should have been, they made their way to where Kevin was still stuck like a deer in the headlights and surrounded by hungry wolves. Mr. Body, Mr. Hopkins asked, is there a problem here? The authority he tried to convey in his voice was made hollow by the uncertainty in his eyes. Miss Powell shared the same expression. If there was a problem, they wouldn't know what the hell to do about it, other than Miss Powell hitting the send button on her cell phone. What was that?
There's a little shug.
Was that a little snore?
A little sugar bear.
The 911 were already pressed. Bruce looked at the teachers and then looked back at Kevin. At no time in Bruce's life would he be accused of being a smart man, but the specter of a grade school past hung over him still, and the last thing on earth he wanted was to be stuck in middle school for another year. It was almost a foregone conclusion that he would be dropping out when he turned 18 in 2 years anyway, but he really needed to keep social services out of his life until then. After that, his old man could beat his mom and rape his sisters as much as he wanted.
Damn.
Bruce would be out of there. No, Bruce shook his head. No problem, sir. My little buddy here was just helping me with my English homework. Ain't that right, kid? The teachers presence caused Kevin's muscles to relax enough to move again, and he nodded in agreement. That's right. His voice was hoarse and weak. The teachers could tell it was more than that, but no one at that point wanted the issue to escalate further, so they didn't press. All right then, Mr. Hopkins piped. Let's get to class, boys. You're going to be late. Kevin grabbed his backpack and scurried to the closest entrance as Bruce motioned for his guys to follow him to a different one. Just before Kevin could slide inside, Bruce yelled back to him, "Hey, kid, we'll finish our little talk after school, so don't go anywhere." They were perhaps the most disturbing words Kevin could ever imagine hearing, someone just behind. "Do you have any last words?" And if there had been a large enough hole anywhere nearby, he would have crawled inside of it to die. With some bullies, a threat like that might just be taken as a threat, but with Bruce it was a brutal promise, especially if anyone else heard him. Were it just the two of them, Bruce might have let it go, but when others are around, it sets a certain degree of expectation, and Bruce didn't like to let his fans down. Kevin spent the rest of the school day on a roller coaster of bipolar emotions. So much happened in such a short amount of time, it was difficult to process it all. So many inconceivable possibilities had opened up in the near future, he found it impossible to focus on either one, let alone his classes. What would Arya's house look like? What would Bruce's thick fist feel like against his tiny head? Would Arya and he become close enough that she'd consider acting in a movie for him? Ooh. Would LensCrafters still have the same frames after Bruce shattered them? Would, in worst case, Arya speak at his funeral? For that matter, did his parents have life insurance?
Needless to say, a lot didn't get done that day. Sixth period went the slowest. Kevin watched every second tick by on the wall clock. As the closing minutes of what was his study hall wound down, Kevin found himself on the precipice of his seat, anxiously waiting to be the first one out the door and down the hall. Bruce, as most everyone seemed to know, was in his phys ed at the other end of the school. If fate was with him, Kevin would get enough of a head start while Bruce was changing back to his even dirtier school clothes, and be on his bicycle and down the block before they were even out of the school itself. That was the plan, at least. The one thing Kevin didn't factor into the plan, however, was the insane number of times that Bruce and his gang skipped classes, especially PE, where the teacher was always absentee anyway, drinking in the teacher's lounge. Ayo. That must have been the case today, because when Kevin came out of the courtyard into the parking lot and was approximately 50 feet from the bike rack, he saw them standing there next to his silver BMX racer. 50 feet. That's how much of a head start he had. Instead of freezing up as it had earlier, Kevin's mind rapidly calculated his best odds. Ooh. In a split second after recognition, his legs sprang into action, carrying him into the street as quickly as they ever had before. A cursory look over his shoulder told him that they were in pursuit, all of them. To say the town lived in the small would be something of an understatement. With one middle school, one high school, and one stoplight, and 3 churches, it would never be confused with something that ended with a burg or a vial. The locals called it quaint, and often brought up the town's connections to the work of Norman Rockwell. Kevin had made a beeline straight for downtown 6 blocks, consisting of a few old shops, a coffee house, a post office, and with a block all to itself, the courthouse, complete with a statue of a flaming lion reaching for the sky and an inscription which read, "Justice is a lion burning for the truth."
Okay.
That's very excessive.
Okay.
His thought process was that it would provide the largest number of corners for him to run around, and with any luck, lose them in the process. Kevin had anticipated them covering the gap between them quickly, but thanks to a pack of cigarettes a day, he was actually adding to it. He had passed a couple of buildings when he decided to duck into the alley that ran between Sweeney's drugstore and Franny's Flower, and then back behind the drugstore onto 2nd Avenue. The alley provided a lot of cover with its garbage cans and dumpsters, and upon finding two wedged close together, he managed to slip between them and then behind them. It was a pretty good hiding spot with the wall behind him, providing a decent spy hole in both directions. It took another 30 agonizing seconds for anything to come into view. It was Carrie Dowell making his way into the alley. Apparently they had split up in their search for him. A moment Kevin considered revealing himself and appealing to any nostalgia Carrie might have had for their warm history, but the thought was fleeting. Even though he ended up on a different side of the fence than Kevin, he still lived under the firm umbrella Bruce's fear, just as much a victim as he was an aggressor. Bruce was the ultimate predator, and they all just tried to survive their time with him. And Kevin held his hand over his mouth, trying to temper the volume of his heavy breathing. Carrie was walking all the way through the bent alley from one entrance to the other. His former friend passed the dumpsters without incident and was nearly out of the alley when Kevin was about to breathe a sigh of relief. A noise came from somewhere close to him that drew Carrie's attention back in his direction. It was whimper of sorts. Kevin heard his breath and prayed, "Keep going, keep going." He didn't. The other boy stopped at the edge of the alley and turned back around. "Kevin," he called out.
Kevin!
"Kevin!" That was possibly not deserted after all.
If you're here, man, just stay hidden. He'll get bored of looking before too long.
The boy turned back around, pausing just long enough to say,
"I'm sorry."
before disappearing from view. Kevin finally allowed the sigh of relief to come out, but the sensation was short-lived. Another high-pitched whimper echoed off the wall behind him. It was coming from somewhere very close. Oh, he's a puppy.
Maybe there is a dog.
Maybe there's a puppy.
On page 14.
Wow. Fear was the first emotion to grip him. It usually was, but it was quickly replaced with curiosity. The noise conveyed pain and fear itself, like a wounded animal, and his naturally nurturing instincts kicked in. Kevin began searching the undesirable rubbish around him and very quickly found the source of the sound. Beneath a cardboard box, and buried in a pile of discarded sale flyers, was the most pitiful looking dog Kevin had ever seen. He had never been good with dog breeds. He had no clue what breed the shaggy little animal might have been, but it was, in Kevin's opinion, the spitting image of Benji, the movie star dog from the 60s.
That's terrier, right?
I think it was St. Bernard, wasn't it?
No, I don't think. Not Benji.
Benji was Cujo. Yeah.
Benji was very small. It was like a blonde, yappy dog.
Aww.
Yeah, I think it was a terrier or a Yorkie of some kind.
And you say he's small, you should have probably been a
I'm gonna Google.
baby.
You could keep going.
The little pooch made eye contact and renewed its pitiful pleas, but did little else. The boy inspected the dog with all the expertise. Oh yeah, I don't know what kind of dog that is.
What breed was Benji? I got it.
Oh, like the shaggy dog.
Mm-hmm.
Aww.
Cocker Spaniel, Poodle, and Schnauzer.
Oh, okay.
It's a mutt.
Just a little mutt baby.
Border Terrier.
Aww. The boy inspected the dog with all the expertise that Google and his cell phone provided and could find nothing wrong other than the fact that the animal was probably starving. Its little ribs poked through its fur, torn between his desire to heed Carrie's advice and stay hidden and the need to get his new friend some food. He finally decided on the latter and slid out from his trash can cubby. Feeling like he was a spy versus spy comic strip, Kevin carefully peered around each corner before slipping into Sweeney's drugstore with as much stealth as he could muster. Several minutes later, he had returned to the dog with 2 large cans of wet dog food and a bottle of water. Without even realizing that he had started doing, Kevin began calling the bushy little guy Benji. It seemed fitting given the remarkable resemblance. The moment Kevin cracked the first can of food, Benji came to life, jumping up and furiously trying to shove his nose into the can before he could even get the lid off. Kevin laughed as he tried to work around the excited dog, Benji's tail smacking him in the face. The 2 cans went in no time, and Kevin found himself making a total of 2 more trips into the drugstore until the animal seemed satisfied. All in all, Kevin spent nearly 2 hours in the alley with Benji, a large amount of that time spent trying to think of a way to convince his parents to let him keep the dog. Of course, it was probably out of the question. They already had 3 cats, but maybe he could be an outside dog. Except they didn't have a yard. They lived in an apartment. He finally decided that, for now at least, Benji would have to be an alley dog until he could think of something better, and he would come and feed the animal every day.
I'm getting bad vibes.
Yeah.
I'm getting bad feelings.
Oh, that the bully's gonna do something.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
Yeah,
can't.
it seems like butterfly effect shit.
Goodbyes said and kisses exchanged. Kevin left the animal for the evening. He would use the rest of the time he had to retrieve his bike and get home to think of a viable excuse to give his mother for being so late. Since he was a good kid, she wouldn't need much by the time dinner was over. The subject was past. So many monumental things had happened over the course of the day. Kevin was surprised to find himself dreaming about Benji when he finally drifted away. His alarm was set extra early the next morning, and Kevin was out the door at least an hour before his usual departure time. It would have seemed inconceivable just the day before that he would have had any desire to be heading in the direction of his school any earlier than he was forced to do so. But that was before Benji. Of course, the thoughts of both Bruce and Arya continued to dance on the edges of his mind, but what he was really focused on was his new friend. Oh, 'cause he's a baby. Benji was there, curled up in the bed of old newspapers that Kevin had made for him, and their reunion was sweet as he had hoped it would be. The little dog both remembered and missed him, and their hour together went in minutes before Kevin left for school. He wasn't even aware of the massive smile he was wearing when he walked into the courtyard, but someone noticed. A tap on his shoulder made it disappear instantly, and all the fear and anxiety the dog's influence had been holding at bay came flooding back, burying him in its wake. Kevin held his breath and slowly turned. It was Arya. In a shiny gold jacket and painted on jeans, she was almost too much to take in. She was like the sun, almost too bright to look directly at. Her hair was pulled back into a ponytail, exposing her neck, and that was where Kevin found himself focusing. In that moment, he would have traded his left hand to be able to kiss her neck, right where it arches gracefully to her. Oh shit, she was saying something. So what is it? He was embarrassed on several levels, simultaneously wishing that he had been listening to her question and hoping she would have no way of knowing what he was actually thinking about.
I'm sorry. What?
It was the best he could do. Wow, you're a real space case this morning. Partying last night, were we? Kevin nodded and smiled, even though he had never really known the definition of partying. I said, what's with the smile? You had a big shit eater when you walked in. Arya person was watching him walk in. He thought for a moment and then decided to come clean. After all, girls did love dogs.
I kind of got a dog.
Oh. He was right. I love dogs. What kind is he? Kevin didn't get a chance to tell her as the final bell rang them to class. Oh, well. She leaned in and kissed him on the cheek again. You can tell me about it at lunch. Come find me. Arya was off, and Kevin, dumbstruck, was left wondering what the hell happened. again. Were they friends now? When did that happen? One thing was for sure, he'd never be washing that cheeky again.
Gross.
Ew, gross. He drifted through the first half of his school day in a foggy haze, unable to shake the giddy elation of that moment. The lunch break did nothing to bring him back to earth either, especially when Arya called out, "Kev!" from across the lunchroom for all to hear, waving him over to the table where her and her friends were sitting, a table Kevin wouldn't have dreamed of sitting at, even if it were completely unoccupied.
I absolutely refused to sit with my girlfriend at lunch.
Really?
She would not want to be around me and my friends. Even when we had the same period, I was like, nah, fuck off, go sit with your own friends.
Oh, wow.
Just absolutely not. It's just like, I got like, in school, you kind of just want to be around, like, your friends.
Yeah.
And, like, no offense, but, like, you don't want to be around your girlfriend's friends. Not unless you're, like, forced to.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, let's be honest, they suck. So it's just, like, even if you're a good boyfriend, they still hate you because, like, you're taking attention away from their friend that they like and care about.
I didn't date
Because
anybody.
they act like cunts.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't date anybody, like, in my high school.
Yeah, I was all about that puppy love.
When-
Earliest girlfriend was at like 12, and we broke up like 2 months later, and everyone had a fucking shit fit about it.
I never dated anyone.
And then
until
high
I
school
dated her.
high school was really funny because high school I had like a different girlfriend like every 3 months.
Oh,
It was really funny.
Look at you, Captain.
Well, it was just that thing. It was just like it was the fun thing to do. You'd have like a makeout buddy, and then it would be like
buddy.
and then it would be like, I don't want to make out with you anymore, we're breaking up. And then it would just be like really sad for a little bit, and then you'd find someone else to make out with. And like, it's because of musical, it's because of like theater, like the theater kids were just horny like all the time, and everyone was always just trying to make out with someone else.
Oh my god.
That's why
and
I
most of the
learned how to
time,
play guitar.
I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised.
No, that's. I thought it would be a great way to one, to pick up women.
Yeah.
And two, to
You're not wrong.
To help with my chronic depression, so I don't kill myself.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Oh my god.
Unsubscribe.
Kill yourself.
No, I'm joking.
So like, when it comes to like, this is middle school, right? So like there were 2 to 3 things that would happen in middle school. And like this is for me like big public school, like 3,000, 4,000 students.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Oh, mine was so small.
that's what I mean. Like that's why you had a
kinda
different.
like that,
That's
yeah.
why you had a different experience.
Yeah.
So like, for me, it's like, so and so has a crush on you. So and so thinks you're cute, and then you'd have one of 2 reactions, which was, oh, that's awesome, I think they're hot, or, ew, that's gross, I don't want them to like me. So like, go, like if you're their friend and you're telling me this, go put them down like nicely.
Yeah.
And like, as a kid, you're an idiot. So like, the people you said yes to were the people you shouldn't have said yes to, and the people you said no to were the people you should have been saying yes to. Which was always the funniest part about it, is like, the girl I said no to pretty much my entire life is absolutely someone I should have dated at some point and never did, and now I'll always regret it because she's great. And it's just like, the people I said yes to were like hot, but like substanceless, like had no purpose, did not have any feelings other than base level attraction. And so it's just like, from middle school, it was just like hot girlfriend, hot girlfriend, hot girlfriend. I could think of like 3 hot girlfriends I had when I was in 8th grade. And like, my mom didn't care. My mom was just like, just don't bring them back to the house, you're not allowed to do anything in the house, like stop. And so I would always go over to their place, or I would meet them somewhere public, like the mall, the skate rink, the arcade, whatever, the movie theater. You know, she didn't care as long as I like kept it out of the house. She didn't want to see it. You know, that's when moms stopped loving their sons. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Yeah, it's
they stop loving their sons when they find another woman.
So
it's kind of like when guys start hating their moms too, when they start masturbating.
Yeah.
They're like, when's that bitch gonna leave?
Yeah.
I have some
I have
things.
plans.
I
I have
have some
plans.
I
plans.
have plans as the fingers twiddle together.
Oh my god.
No, seriously, and that's when like that relationship changes, and it's just like high school started, and my mom hated everyone I brought home until my like full-time girlfriend that I dated for like 3 full years, and it was just like, it was like the first girl I dated in high school was a year older than me, and I just thought the world of her. I thought she was so hot. And then like 3 months later we broke up, and we were off and on for like 6 months, and then I dated someone even older than her, and I felt like I was like the shit. And then
You and the older girls.
and then she like low-key like raped me, and I was like,
Oh my god.
I was like, this isn't how I wanted to lose my virginity, and that's how it happened.
Oh my
and I was like,
God.
that's not cool. And then I went back to dating the first girl because I was like, that was bad.
Oh no.
So I want to go back to when things were good. So I was with her, and then the summer happened, and we stopped hanging out. Because again, my mom wouldn't let me have any girls over.
No girls over.
And so that's when I started dating the only girl who was ever younger than me. She was a freshman when I was a sophomore. And my mom liked her because she was a church girl.
Yeah.
She was a Mormon.
I think I remember hearing about
And
this.
she was
Mormon girl.
really sweet, and she was really cute, and she always said all the right things, and she was really, you know.
Those Mormon girls, I tell you.
And I dated her for like a year, just slowly whittled her down until she agreed to, you know,
Yeah.
look away from God for just a couple moments a week.
Maybe like 30 minutes.
Maybe. Yeah.
30 to 40 minutes a day, you know, 3 or 4 days a week. And it was really funny because I would sneak out of my mom's house because we would leave the garage open because we had an outdoor cat. So we would leave the garage open like a foot. I would be able to slide right under that. I'd act like it's like
You and your
11.
skinny jeans.
Correct.
Yeah.
My, no, at this point, it's like 11, 12 at night, and my parents are already asleep, and I'm acting like I'm going into the garage to get a soda. So I'm actually in my pajamas. And
Okay.
I would sneak under the garage door,
Just doing like a
and
barrel
I'd
roll
get in
right
my
underneath.
car, and I'd drive over to my girlfriend's house, and she would do the same thing. She would sneak me in through the side garage door. We'd go up to her room,
Look at your face.
and we would literally just like get naked and do stuff to each other for like 2 hours straight. It was the wildest shit I ever did. And I was like a straight A student, so my mom didn't give a shit like what bad stuff I was getting up to, and we always used condoms and everything, so it was fine. But like my parents never knew about it. When I remember telling my mom.
Or did they?
No. I remember telling my mom years and years later, like 10 years later.
When she can't get mad at you because
Correct.
it's
It's
too
because a
long.
decade passes.
Yeah.
Correct. I remember
I still
like
haven't told
10
my
years
parents.
later, I was like, hey, did you know I used to sneak out of the house all the time in high school? She was like, no. And I was like, you guys made it really easy. You would be dead to the world before 11. You'd go to sleep, you'd turn on, the door would be
You guys made it so fucking
so fucking easy. Because if the garage was closed, I would sneak out the Belco doors.
Oh, okay.
That would lead out to the pool.
Yeah.
Those didn't make a fucking noise for the longest time. You keep those hinges oiled, just swing that right open,
Get some
swing that right close,
DW40.
right out of there. Yeah. So, I mean, not the only thing getting some DW40
Yes,
that night, you know what I'm
DW40.
saying? So anyway, it was the funniest fucking thing because I would sneak out, it would be like 11 or like midnight. I'd get over there, we'd do crazy shit until like 2. I'd fall asleep with her, and I'd set an alarm for like 5, which is earlier than her parents would get up. You know, 4 or 5, somewhere in there. And then I would get back in my car and drive all the way back home, and then get another like 2 to 3 hours before my parents wake me up for school. And then I would go to school, and I'd see her, and I'd be like, that was real fun last night. And this would repeat like 3 or 4 days a week for like 2 years straight. And my parents had no fucking clue.
Oh my god.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you're not gonna get that in this story. This is the puppy love. This is the like 12-year-old we're holding hands, which means we're fucking serious. Which
Yeah.
means we're like fucking linked. So
Speaking of statutes of limitations passed,
That's a good point.
I didn't do anything.
That's a good point. Both of us were under 18, so it was mutual. Therefore,
Yeah.
I can't be yelled at about it.
Yes. I didn't get a chance to do anything like that when
No.
you know my mom.
No,
she's,
your mom's
we were
insane.
under lock and key, and like she's still a helicopter mom. I'm gonna be 29.
Your mom also
and she's,
stays up later. Like,
She is,
She
yeah.
also like listens and watches you guys like a hawk. So she's like, "Who left the house?"
my grandmother was
I
awake
was-
too.
I was the younger sibling, so my sister did all the shit already, and she just
Same.
paved a fucking way for me.
My
So-
brother was really bad at everything.
Oh, so
I'm
my
talking
sister-
about Spum specifically. He was bad at everything, so I knew what not to do, and I got away with everything.
Well, the thing is, like, I had an older cousin too.
I
who
remember.
Huh?
I remember.
Yeah, he kind of helped me out a lot. So I would drive to this girl's house and I'd make out with her,
Yeah.
and she kind of would be in the situation that like she's in, like and
Midnight.
at night.
Midnight Bride.
So
Midnight
so
Bride.
this girl like wouldn't be able, like, she had really strict parents. So
Yeah.
I remember making out with her on her front porch, and the door swinging open, and I jumped off. I jumped off the front porch and swung around the house.
The
Yeah.
worst thing I did was my freshman year of college. I was out at a hookah lounge with my friends celebrating my birthday because I was 18, and my mom wanted to call me for my birthday at midnight, and she didn't know what my bathroom looked like at my dorm, so I went in the bathroom. Took my shirt off, like had my bra on and stuff, and she thought I was about to get in the shower because she wanted me to send her a picture of me because she was trying to check up on me, and she thought I was in my
Holy
bathroom.
shit. My
Yeah.
mom never did
Yeah.
shit like that.
I had to be
me.
home at a specific
No,
time. I had to be
that's
back
so
at my
funny.
dorm at a specific time.
My dad's super laid back, so when my mom would get up in arms kind of like that, he'd be like,
She would've
he'd be
murdered
like,
me.
chill out.
I told her about it later, and she's like, "You betrayed me." I'm like, "It has been several
I
years.
think-
You can't be mad at me now."
I think the two most nerve-wracking instances in young adulthood dealing with the opposite sex.
Mhm.
I don't know if I've ever told the stories on the show before. We're allowed to, stop. We're in the middle of the story. We're allowed to stop for a second. No one wants to rush to the part where the dog dies, okay?
We all
Calm
know
down.
it's coming, and
I-
I'm
We all
gonna
know
lose.
it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna
not
lose my
If
shit.
this happens, we're done.
There's a dog now.
There's a dog now.
We're all pretty upset about it.
My sister just walked in.
So
She's
listen.
like, "What? There's a dog."
So listen.
We have a pupper.
There were two instances in high school because I dated the same girl from my sophomore year to my senior year, and we broke up my senior year because she moved away. So we were only dating for like the first year, and then the last the 2 years that like I had with her, we were like intensely sexually active. And it was like we were around like 17, 18 years old, so it's not a big deal. Like everyone's pretty, they test within their own limitations, whatnot. But there was one day where I had done that maneuver that I mentioned, where I had snuck out. I had gotten over to her house. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. There was one day where we didn't set our alarms,
Oh.
and I had slept through. And I wake up to hearing people moving around the house, and I'm literally like naked in my girlfriend's bed.
Oh no.
And like we're lucky the door was locked because like the mom like totally wanted to come in at one point.
Oh my god.
And we had luckily locked the door, but I ended up hiding in the closet, like picking up all my stuff and hiding in the closet because the mom like walks in, like looks around the room. She's like, "Why is the door locked?" She was like, "Oh, I was changing. I was getting ready for school."
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay." Girlfriend comes back and she's just like, "You parked around the block, right? Like around the other side." I was like, "Yeah." Okay, so like they're not gonna see your car or anything, but like you're gonna be late for school. And I was just like, yeah, I don't even know what my mom would be thinking right now because I'm not home, and she probably checked my bedroom already. I'm just gonna, I'll text her right now from your closet and let her know that I left early. Before she would realize, I used to hit up like Sheets all the time. So
I'm
I was
so
like,
quick with thinking.
I was like, I'm gonna go get some Sheets for breakfast or something, which is not out of the realm because I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, okay, I left early to go get breakfast somewhere, cool. But then I had to sit in this closet for probably like 45 minutes to wait for everyone to like leave. because the mom had to like drop all the kids off at school and stuff. So like all these kids load into the car. I'm being texted, like literally as I'm sitting there and as I'm hearing the garage door close. I'm being texted. My mom took a different way to school. I have a feeling she totally saw your car.
Oh no.
Down the other side of the street.
Oh no.
And I just remember like getting that text and immediately booking it the fuck out of there.
Oh my god.
I went out the back door, I hopped like over a fence, I went running through the 1 yard, I like double tooked, I jumped in my car, and I went right
you were
to
in the
like,
Olympics.
it was bad. It was bad. And I remember like later the mom told the dad pulled me aside and had a talk with me and asked me why I was there.
Oh,
and,
well, what does he think?
Oh man.
Oh, come on.
It was bad.
Don't make you say
I got
it.
in trouble, but he agreed to like not tell my parents if I agreed to like be honest with him about everything, and I was just like, okay, sure, I'll come clean.
Did he tell your parents?
No, he didn't.
Good man.
And you want to know why, which is real fucked up? Because he had another family living in a different state.
Oh my god! Oh my god! What the fuck?
We didn't find out until like years and years later.
You told me about this.
Yeah, we didn't
Oh
find
my
out until
God.
years and years later that the entire time that he like was doing his job, he had an entirely different family with like 2 other kids in a completely different
Is he
state.
Mormon?
Of course, yeah.
So.
Oh, that's right.
No,
okay.
but this was an affair. There's
This
a difference
yeah.
between
A Mormon
being
affair.
there's a difference between being like actually out as polyamorous
Yes.
and
And
like
then-
having that understanding
Mm-hmm.
and like adultery.
That's
Yeah.
the same thing as like having an open marriage, being open about it,
Correct.
and then
yeah.
cheating on your.
But it's not
Yeah.
like you could go file for an open marriage though.
You
like
can't.
you could go
yeah.
get married to multiple people, but you can't like
Have them, yeah. I
you
know.
can't like dictate on the marriage certificate that it's an open marriage. Like marriage is a contract.
Yeah.
So it's like in this situation,
Well-
this was a whole nother family.
Well, even those polyamorous, they like that doesn't exist.
That
either
doesn't
in
exist
law
either.
because they
That's like
can't.
some Jerry Springer shit right there.
Which was wild. Which
Take
at the end of the day, I think the
There's-
dad felt bad for me because I think he was just like, this little kid's just trying to get his nut, you know. So
Yeah,
anyway,
he's
that
trying
was
to-
really
trying to
funny,
get
and
some.
then
This little squiddle.
that was really funny. And then there was another time where it was prom night.
I remember
and-
this one.
Yeah, it was prom night, and my mom, that we were at my house, and she had come home with
Mm-hmm.
me, and I had lied to my mom when I came in. I was like, no, I dropped her off at home. She's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I waited for my mom to go to bed. Like I kissed her goodnight. And then I like
Night,
very
night.
quickly ran downstairs and opened up my back sliding door that no one could hear from my side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in and went directly up to my room, and that was fun too.
What did
So-
your brother and sister say about this?
No one knew.
Don't know.
No one knew.
Wow.
And I remember telling my sister years later too, and she was like, "Are you fucking serious?" Because she never did anything either. My brother got caught with everything. My brother got caught with
I could see that.
literally everything.
He's paving the way for you.
He was
though.
really bad at hiding shit though, so that's his own fault.
That's definitely
So
me
listen.
though too.
No, I'm too.
It's
good, so
like
that's fine.
I don't know. It's like a prom was on a Friday night, right? Which means that it's Saturday the next day.
Yeah.
And like my family should not be up early. I'm thinking like 7 is
Oh,
early
yours
enough
was
to
on a
wake
Friday?
up. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, it might have been a Saturday. I don't know. But like there was no reason my family should have been up before 7 on a weekend.
Oh yeah, no, ew.
But here I am. I wake up. I already hear people moving around the house. I'm like, fuck. Like she's here.
Mm-hmm.
Her car isn't outside because I had driven her to and from the prom. There's no way that my parents are going to figure out
Are
that
you
she's
both
here.
also still naked?
No, like I think she put her prom dress back on, to be totally honest. It was all she had.
Yeah.
I think if I had given her clothes, they would have been like baggy on her.
Hang on. I'm trying to think of a scenario on how to get out of this.
So what I did was my mom comes like knocking on the door. She's like, "Why's your door locked?" And I'm just like, "I literally just woke up. Like, let me finish getting changed." And like between how my door would open and the wall behind it, we put my girlfriend there for the entire conversation I had with my mom. My mom comes into my room. She looks around. She literally like double checks. I even think she opened the closet at one point, or I had the closet open to show her
There's no one
that
in
I was
there.
like in there doing something and that there's no one in there. But she comes in and she sits down on my bed and like looks around the room and starts having a conversation with me, and I was just like, Yup, we're good. Yup.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Yup, we're good. We're
Love
fine.
you
Get out of
too.
here. And she didn't, like, to this day, she was just like, I didn't know your girlfriend was in there. I was like, yeah, there was nowhere else for me to hide her. It was only behind the door. And it's just like, she walks out of there, she goes downstairs. I remember it being the weekend, so I was just like, is it okay if she comes over, though? Because, like, I dropped her off last night, remember?
She's
like,
not here.
Can I go get her? Or can she get dropped off here? And I remember her being like, yeah, that's fine. And I literally just waited for her to, like, go back upstairs or go to her office, which was upstairs at the time. And I was just like, okay, she's in a different section of the house. While no one is looking, I'm going to take my girlfriend, like, downstairs, out the side, and then we're going to run down to the front of the house and act like we're meeting, like, right then and there.
In her prom dress?
I don't know. She might have had a change of clothes. I don't remember.
I was gonna say she could have been over for pictures.
She definitely came over in her prom dress. I know she might have had a bag with her. So anyway, we come walking up the steps and we enter the front door together, and we come walking upstairs, and I'm just like, hey, you know, Mom, my girlfriend's here. And it was like, at that point we were like, we're all good. We're in the clear. Like, she didn't suspect a thing.
She's here.
And then I went back to locking my door and doing all that crazy shit we did. Anyway.
A second time.
Multiple times, because I was a spry young lad.
Unprotected sex.
No, it was very much protected. Anyway, that's not this type of love, all right, everyone? This is that puppy love.
I would hope not. They're 12.
This is, well, you know.
I know, unfortunately. Some kids,
I mean, if they're both 12... If they're fine with it, they can do their own fucking thing. I like wince when I see, like, the younger generations now, like, doing shit, because I'm just like, you're too young for that.
You're children. You're babies.
You're too young
You're just
for that.
babs. You're babies.
You're supposed to just, like, grab tit and, like, make out, you know...
Play with your Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Unbalanced making out and titty grabbing is, like, all you should be doing at that age.
I'm in the school system, and it's like...
You didn't have to tell us that. Why'd you tell us that? You looking at kids?
No, I know. It's from kindergarten to 5th.
Oh, great.
But when the fucking girls in, like, 5th grade who are, like, fucking 10 are wearing, like, the fucking cutoff shorts and, like, fucking crop top
That's
shit,
gotta be confusing.
And they're fucking weird. Grinding on each other in fucking gym class.
What the hell?
I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this? Like,
I got a buddy, I'm not going to name drop him, but he teaches high school, and he tells me it's very challenging.
It's like Euphoria out there now.
I was told by, I think, a first grader or a kindergartner.
That you look 40?
No. They're like, Mr. No, I definitely don't.
I'm 40.
They're like, Mr. You know, somebody in my
Mr.
class.
Afternoon Groom.
Mr. Groom.
Mr. Groom.
Yeah, looks buff.
You are buff.
Yeah.
You are buff.
Yeah. You do.
Give yourself some props.
He comes home and he just drops it onto the floor in the kitchen. He just starts doing push-ups.
I've seen him do this multiple times.
Yeah, he's like insane with
you
that.
You gotta
shit.
get the 155 for Jesus.
Oh my god.
The push-ups.
Oh my god.
This is why you married him, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, you can continue now.
Sorry, everyone.
Don't apologize to them. That's what they're here for.
It's the big penis.
Oh, okay. Is that you cock push-ups?
Cock push-ups.
Yeah, I put my hands behind my back and I get an erection. It's like, you know that episode of Always Sunny where Dennis is like flaccid, unflaccid, flaccid, unflaccid. That's how it is.
Flaccid hard. Flaccid hard. The weirdness continued when she and her
sycophantic.
Okay, I don't know that one. Sycophantic
friends
treated him well. Not like the social pariah he knew himself to be. Marcy, Jerry, and Sarah all smiled and asked him about his Christmas break, despite the fact they would have never been caught dead speaking to him in the past. When he told him about the video, when he told them about the video equipment, they all seemed interested, and when he told them about Benji, that all responded with appropriate oohs and ahs. It was almost as if Kevin had been sitting at the table with these untouchable elite kids all year. Almost. I just see this gearing up as
oh, it's gonna get bad.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad.
This is gonna be like High School Musical.
He should have told anybody about the fucking dog.
Yeah.
Okay. As they were leaving lunch for fourth period, and when Kevin was just around a corner dumping his lunch tray, a hard shove came from behind, nearly sending him into the garbage can behind his milk carton and uneaten food. He didn't have to turn around to know what it was. Bruce put one meaty hand on his shoulder and squeezed hard. It hurt.
Big, meaty
claws! Leaning his mouth down next to the smaller boy's ear, he kissed it. He kissed it.
Missed you yesterday. Don't worry, I won't miss you today.
With another less than gentle push,
And kiss.
he was gone, and Kevin was left with his plastic lunch tray trembling in his hand. He's like, oh my god, I'm confused now.
He's having mixed feelings.
Yeah. Whatever magic the first half of the day had brought had been shattered. What had he done to deserve this? He never did anything or bothered anyone. At best, he was background material, but not now. For some unimaginable reason, Bruce had placed Kevin in the middle of his crosshairs, and he wasn't going to let him go.
Gross.
Maybe it was because he was so unassuming, easy prey, like the ruttishly slow gazelle that gets separated from the herd. Whatever the case may be, he spent the next 2 hours of class feverishly trying to calculate an escape plan. By the time the bell rang, signaling the end of fifth period, he had pretty much decided to do the unthinkable. He had never once in his entire scholastic career skipped a class. The mere thought of it was foreign and taboo. Might as well go ahead and grab a crack pipe while he was at it. Wow. In his mind, it was a very slippery slope. Slippery. It was, however, only study hall, and the odds of any actual studying getting done were low to none. In the end,
no one should ever feel bad about skipping study hall. There's no.
I would just go to the art class, like art room. Like they wouldn't care. They let me go to the art
play
room.
solitaire.
In my school, I was always able to schedule study hall like last, so I could just fucking leave.
Yeah.
That's what everyone did.
Oh no, I couldn't leave school.
No, we had study hall last.
Everything was locked down. You could not get out.
I was able to make last period study hall for maybe 1 or 2 years.
I wouldn't be able to leave the school even if it was last period. But in the end, he valued his life more than his attendance record and slipped out the side door with his backpack in tow. Even though he was taking off early, Kevin was still very careful about peering around the courtyard wall when leaving, rather than blindly stumbling out into view like he did yesterday. As fate would have it, it was a good thing. Bruce and his crew were already waiting at the bike rack. Skipping class seemingly not as big a deal to them as it was to Kevin. Andy and Mark were kicking Kevin's already dented bicycle into unusable shape, while Carrie watched from the side with a glum look on his face. Bruce was leaning against the teacher's car, a foot propped against the door, and smoking a cigarette in plain view of the world. Yeah, what the fuck is up with people smoking in middle school?
No, I mean, get your foot off my car, I'll bash your fucking head in.
Oh my god. Kevin hated just how untouchable that kid really was. Everyone was scared to death of him, and it wasn't fair. Tucking his head back behind the concrete wall, Kevin considered a new route off the school's property and to Benji. One that wouldn't involve using his bike, obviously.
What if the title is like foreboding? What if the dog fucking kills this kid?
I would love that.
Well, okay, so here's how it's gonna go.
Like maybe that's good. Like,
So,
good
that's
dog.
I was thinking-
Good dog is like bad dog, but like good dog.
Yeah.
The
for
dog's
being
bad.
bad.
Starving so much that Kevin kills the kid and the dog eats the kid.
Nah, it's not gonna go.
And it's
that
not
way.
gonna go like
The kid's
that.
not that fucked up.
I think
It's gonna be like an accident. The kid's gonna get cornered in the alleyway, and the dog is gonna defend him, and it's actually gonna rip this kid's fucking like throat open.
I wonder if it's like the dog. Okay, so I don't know. It was like on Snapchat, but they had like VHS, and it was like these short like episodes. And then one was like these little girls like were having a slumber party, and there was like this like little stray dog that like was scratching on the back door. So they let the dog in, and then it turned out the dog was some kind of like the thing, sort of, and like killed like everyone in the house. Yeah. So I'm like wondering if this is like what the dog is. Yeah. Nice. So that'd be cool. I'd be happy.
I think it's just a regular dog, but I think it's gonna kill this fucking kid.
I hope so. I hope so.
That'd be amazing.
Wanting to see what sort of shape they would leave his two-wheeled companion in, he took one more peek around the wall. Unfortunately, it was one peek too many. Carrie saw him first and said nothing. But when Bruce's gaze caught him looking, he turned as well to make visual contact. Kevin watched just long enough to see Bruce point and nose flaring scream,
"Get him!
Get him!
Get him!"
And then his legs were in motion, pumping as hard as they could and carrying him the same direction he had gone the day before. It had worked once. He didn't bother looking over his shoulder. This time he didn't slow at any point to calculate a direction. He went as fast as he could to Benji's alley. It didn't really occur to him that the livelier version of the dog might get him away this time. He just remembered how safe he felt in his little dumpster cubbyhole. Kevin rounded the corner of the drugstore and down the elbow of the alley. Benji was there waiting, wagging his tail, and as happy as he could be to see the boy.
This is now going to change, and I don't want you to have to read it. So
thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
What is probably going to happen?
Oh my God! I hope the dog murders Bruce. I really do.
Scooping the dog into his arms was probably a risk, as some dogs might have attacked given such a move, but was low on Kevin's list of concerns. The little animal did nothing aggressive, however, and Kevin shoved him through the small space between the giant metal containers and followed behind on his knees. "I think he went down here." It was Mark yelling from the front of the alley, and upon hearing the new voice, Benji began wagging his tail and yipping. Kevin tried to put his hand over the dog's snout to quiet him, but to no avail, and after a couple of seconds of struggling to do so, the fluffy guy slipped out of his grasp and back into the alley. There was no moment of indecision as Kevin scrambled out behind him. As improbable as it might seem to most in such a short amount of time, he loved that dog. They could end up doing whatever they wanted to him. But there was no way in hell he was going to let them hurt Benji. I don't think it's going to go the way we want it to.
Oh, no.
Kevin quickly righted himself and ran around the alley's bend, smacked into Bruce. Standing there, with his cronies behind him, the greasy brute snarled at him. Or maybe it was a smile. It looked to be the same on his thick face. Kevin looked all around frantically, but Benji didn't see him or hear him anywhere. Good, he thought. He must be hiding again. Which was probably what he should have been doing. "There you are, shit stain." The tormentor grabbed him by the collar of his coat and lifted Kevin easily from the ground, his coat and shirt digging into his armpits. "I'm not too happy with you, Four Eyes." Verbal insults weren't exactly Bruce's forte. "I don't like to run, turd, and this is 2 days in a row you've made me run." He shook the boy like a rag doll as Kevin remained instinctively limp. "You should have just taken your licks like a man, and it wouldn't have come to this." "Yeah," Andy piped in from behind him. "Shut the fuck up, pansy Andy. No one's talking to you right now." The red-headed boy looked a little hurt and muttered, "Sorry." But the cruel smile never once left his face. Whether he had to put it in place or not, he wasn't going to miss the show. Andy was the same special kind of evil that Bruce was, only 100 pounds lighter. If and when he ever achieved the type of size Bruce had, he would be just as physically vicious, maybe worse. "So," Bruce said, turning his full attention back to Kevin, "what do we think we should do as punishment?" The question was obviously rhetorical, but Kevin still had to fight back the impulse to blurt out something sarcastic or funny. Why did his best lines always come at the worst moments? "Before," the savage continues, "I was just going to put you in the hospital, but now, oh buddy, now I'm gonna put you in," and he couldn't come up with the right word. Funeral?" Bruce looked back at the boys. "Funeral home?" Mark offered. "Morgue?" Andy guessed. "A cemetery," Carrie finished, clearly the smartest of the bunch. "You're gonna put him in the ground. A cemetery." That seemed to satisfy Bruce, and Kevin prayed that Carrie didn't actually believe what he had just said. "You know what?" Bruce asked, turning his attention back to the dangling puppet. "You're getting heavy." And with that, he threw the small boy several feet backwards, Kevin landing awkwardly on his backside, his head smacking against the concrete, shattering his glasses in the process. His fight-or-flight instinct has kicked in, and Kevin wanted to get up and run away as quickly as he could, but he found it difficult to sit upright. His head ached, and with every ounce of energy he could muster, Kevin crawled around the bend, the sounds of a malicious laughter echoing behind him and maybe someone asking, "Where are you going?" A few feet was the most he could manage as the alley around him began to spin. He was vaguely aware that blood was dripping down his face from somewhere within his hairline. Kevin laid his head back down on the ground and turned it to the side. Tragically nearsighted, he couldn't see very far, but even then it didn't matter as everything started to fade to black. The last thing he did see before succumbing to the possible concussion was Benji, sweet Benji, licking his face. The last thought he had, "Please don't let them hurt my dog." Carrie felt sick to his stomach. Seeing Kevin crawl around the corner, smearing a trail of blood behind him, was almost too much. Yeah, he had seen some pretty messed up shit since he fell in with Bruce, but this was approaching a new level. What the hell was he going to do? Stand there, watch the psychotic man-child kill someone? His childhood friend, no less? This was the last place on Earth he wanted to be right now, and for the life of him, he couldn't really remember how he had gotten there. The person he was becoming was not the person he set out to be, and every moment spent with Bruce sent him further down that path. "Where are you going?" Bruce asked while he and Andy laughed maniacally. Was this really that fun for them? "Bruce?" Carrie called out timidly. He didn't really know what he was going to say, but he was going to say something. The kid was bleeding, for Pete's sake, passing out. He needed an ambulance, not further abuse. The other three boys stopped a few feet from the corner and turned to look at him. I don't know, man." "You don't know what?" Bruce didn't like being questioned. "Pussy's afraid," Andy offered, earning him a punch on the arm. "Shut up, Pandy." He looked at Carrie. "You gonna say something?" Obviously, he didn't want to say anything, but his conscience wouldn't let him stay quiet. There was a very real fear in the back of his mind that not doing so would be akin to putting his soul at risk. He believed in God, and he believed in heaven, and he knew that that's where he would want to end up. It's just, come on, man. He's already messed up pretty bad. Like, what are you planning to do to him? Bruce closed the distance in the alley between them until his face was face to face with the other boy. Carrie was actually pretty tall for his age, but Bruce still towered over him. "What I'm planning to do, Care Bear, is to teach the kid a lesson he'll never forget." "I think you've done that." As much as Carrie wanted to defuse the situation, everything he said only pissed Bruce off more. He picked up half of a broken broom handle and shook it in Carrie's face. "Maybe you need a little lesson today as well, hmm?" Carrie was petrified. He knew what Bruce was capable of, but in a very polarizing moment, something in the back of his mind snapped, and he decided that from that day forward, he would do everything in his power to escape the bully's grasp on him. A bark echoed out from behind the bend, and they all looked in this direction, only to see the tips of Kevin's motionless shoes and a streak of blood. Suddenly, a bright light began to shine from the other end of the alley, and bright really didn't even describe it. It was like a flashlight or a car's headlight, but rather like the sun itself was rising up just around the corner. It was blinding, and the boys all had to hold up their hands to shield their eyes. What happened next would stay with Carrie for the rest of his life. At times, it might seem like it was a dream, and as he would grow older, a delusion, but it would never leave him. Even as it happened, he questioned reality for a moment. That's the effect of a semi-mythical creature that one can have on one's day. Carrie would have thought of it as a full-blown mythical creature, except there it was, right in front of them. In its most recognizable sense, it looked like a giant lion engulfed in an unquenchable flame. It was too bright to discern any details, but there was something vaguely familiar about it to Carrie, something he couldn't quite put his finger on, most likely due to the shock his body was going through. To his left, he could see a puddle of urine building around Andy's trembling feet, and to his right, Mark had fallen into a fetal position and was crying like an infant. It was impossible to see Bruce's face from behind him, so Carrie didn't know how shaken up, if any, he was. His body was rigid, giving no real indication unless he was scared frozen. And when he raised up the broom handle in an offensive position, Carrie figured that wasn't the case either. "What the?" was all that escaped his mouth before the thing spoke. Its words sounded like rolling thunder and echoed off the alley walls, penetrating straight into their skulls. "You will kneel in my presence." Carrie could feel the words vibrating in his chest, and he fell to his knees, hardly aware that he was doing so. Head slightly bowed, he could see Bruce in his periphery. Not nearly as intimidated as he should have been, he took a step towards the burning beast, and Bruce's body didn't really know how to back down. His entire life he had gotten everything he had wanted, and most of it came because he took it. In his best estimation, he was seeing an illusion of some type, perhaps an augmented reality app or something. He really didn't know how those things worked. Swinging the broomstick over his hand and bringing it crashing into the side of the lion with enough force to kill most men, Bruce made sure his desire to kneel was painfully clear. The wooden handle shattered from the force, sending burning embers of wood in all directions. The piece still in Bruce's hands had caught fire, and he stared at it with an uncomprehending disbelief. That wasn't supposed to happen. Still confused, the lion opened its mouth to roar a single word, and the force of the vibration alone sent Bruce sprawling backwards and then onto his ass. "Kneel!" the beast commanded, and this time Bruce wasted scrambling from his behind to his already dirty knees. "What do you want?" Andy cried out like a terrified child kneeling in his own piss, before putting his hand down between his legs and bawling, his red hair becoming wet with his own waste. What do you want? What do you want?" He continued to mumble in between sobs while rocking back and forth. When the answer rang out, Carrie was terrified. He had to imagine they all were. "Justice!" The flames, which seemed to somehow be emanating from within the creature itself, grew larger and hotter every time it uttered a word. Carrie was overwhelmed with awe, and when he saw what Bruce did next, he was doubly amazed. Screaming, "Fuck this!" at the top of his lungs, Bruce leapt to his feet. Carrie half expected him to tear ass past him and out of the alley nightmare, and when he didn't, it was actually kind of admirable if such a word applied to the situation. When the big fool decided to go on the attack, it turned into something closer to pity. It was as much of a frenzied rage as Carrie had ever seen the other boy in, and if there was anything remotely close to normal circumstances, he would be scared to death in front of him. In this moment, however, it all seemed puny and weak in comparison. Regardless, Bruce flung himself at the thing, seemingly without a care for his personal safety. Carrie had often wondered on more occasions than he should have if his gang leader was actually insane, like clinically insane. Insane in the membrane. He recalled a time approximately 6 months ago when they were on the Bowers farm and Bruce was attempting to break into Old Man Bowers' pickup truck for no other reason than seeing his pack of cigarettes on the dash. Using a large rock, he ended up smashing the driver's side window, the noise bringing the Bowers 2 pit bulls from the back of the farmhouse, and foaming at the mouth, barking furiously straight towards the boys. Andy, Mark, and himself had what he would have considered perfectly rational reactions to the rapidly approaching, snarling animals, and began hauling ass themselves to the end of the property. Carrie didn't know why he turned to look over his shoulder while running, but he did, and it forced him to halt. Bruce was a few feet between them, as he expected, but rather holding his ground next to pick up a large rock still in his hand. Carrie remembered wondering just exactly what the other boy was planning to do. The Bowers pits weren't without reputation, after all. The entire act played out in a matter of slow motion, seconds, and when it was over, one dog was dead, and the other was sent, tail between its legs, whimpering off into the tall grass. Bruce was left standing with a bloody rock and a satisfied, lip-splitting smile. But that was then, and this was a significantly different situation. Neither of the Bowers dogs were the size of a Clydesdale, nor were they significant burn risks either. None that mattered as Bruce jumped forward, fists swinging. Carrie couldn't bring himself to watch as he squeezed his eyelids tightly shut. The flames must have soared at the contact, however, because he could feel the increased heat singeing his nose hair. There was only a scream. Part of Carrie knew it was Bruce. It had to be Bruce, but it was only the sound that he'd never heard from a boy before, never heard from anyone. It was barely human. It was a wail of primitive, primordial anguish that made Carrie's stomach lurch and release pizza day lunch all over his blue jeans. He could hear Mark and Andy wailing themselves, each having their own reactions to the sickening scream, which lasted only a few seconds, but seemed to freeze time itself. When it finally ceased as abruptly as it began, the blistering heat and bright light against the back of his tear-soaked eyelids disappeared as well. 1 second they were searing with the crackling and popping of a fire roaring in his ears, and then nothing. Cool alley air and silence. Well, not complete silence. There was Mark and Andy's infantile whimpers still lingering. Carrie waited several agonizing seconds before opening his eyes, and even then it took a Herculean effort. 3 things came to his attention immediately. First was Mark and Andy, both in fetal positions, holding their knees with their arms, blubbering like traumatized fools. The second thing he noticed was the bushy little brown tail that was just rounding the corner out of view. A dog. Finally, and probably the most striking of the 3, was Bruce, or rather a lack of Bruce. Bruce was gone. Just gone. And there was nothing left to prove that the psychopath had ever been there at all. There was no blood, save Kevin's, no burnt leather jacket. Hell, there wasn't even a pile of ash, which is what Carrie rather expected. The half-torched, broken broom handle still there, however, but other than that, there was no indications at all that the alley had been anywhere near the temperatures that they were just experienced. It took a bit, but Carrie finally found the strength to stand and then wordlessly helped Mark and Andy to their feet, and they all took one look at the still lifeless feet of Kevin and then at each other. Andy took off running first, and after practically no deliberation, Mark followed, and Carrie just shook his head. He understood what they had been through and the permanent trauma it probably invoked, but just to run away when someone might be dying, especially now that Bruce wasn't there to force their hands, they were cowards. Carrie guessed that he knew that all along. Carrie rushed around the alley bend and was immediately relieved to see that Kevin was breathing, even from where he was standing. Curled up next to his head and gently licking the blood from his wound was one of the cutest little dogs he had ever seen. If the circumstances weren't so damn tragic, it would have been adorable. He got to his knees next to the unconscious boy and pulled out his phone, dialed 911. He began to stroke the little mutt. "You're a good little boy, aren't you?" he asked before the line clicked, and a woman's voice said,
911, what's your emergency?
Kevin awoke in a hazy fog, which seemed to linger for some time after. They told him he'd been in a coma for 3 days, and his very first panic thought was for Benji. His mother and father calmed him quickly with kisses and reassurances, but it reminded them of Bruce. His friend had been taking care of the dog. Friend? Did he have a friend? He didn't know who they were talking about, but it pacified him nonetheless. The next 2 hours were spent having every family member he ever met in his life, and some he hadn't, come to kiss and stroke his hair. Push, push. It seemed the concern that he might not pull through was greater than his parents had let on. When the reunion parade finally came to an end, his mother told him that his
little friend
had been patiently waiting to see him and asked if he could visit for a while. Kevin said yes, more out of abject curiosity than any desire to visit with a classmate. And when Carrie walked through the door, he honestly didn't know how to feel. The remorseful expression on the boy's face immediately gave way that he wasn't here to terrorize in any way. He settled into a chair next to his bed and waited for Kevin's mom to give them some privacy. However, even after the door closed behind her, it took several minutes for Carrie to work up the nerve to say anything. "I'm so sorry," was what he finally managed to get out. But he looked his old friend in the eyes, and he said it, and Kevin could see with sincerity. It took a significantly less amount of time for Kevin to respond. "It's okay, man, I forgive you." And he truly did. He knew that, although in a very different way, Carrie had been a victim of Bruce's just as much as he was, maybe even worse. The words were like a weight that had been lifted from Carrie's shoulders, and the pressure in the room instantly lightened. Within minutes, they were reminiscing video game tournaments, afternoons together in a Little League dugouts. The conversations felt so fluid and natural, as though they never stopped being friends, that they both began to wonder why they ever did. As inevitable as it had to be, the subject of Bruce eventually came up. Missing? Kevin didn't understand. What do you mean missing? Carrie wasn't sure how much to say. Still not fully believing that the experience in the alley behind Sweeney's had actually happened. His latest theory was some type of mass hallucination, a form of group hysteria that Wikipedia confirmed to be real. Yesterday, he had been convinced that he had been drugged with LSD. Just, well, gone. Nobody knows where he is. His parents filed one of those missing persons things and all. This didn't really come to a shock exactly. Everyone knew Bruce assumed he would probably die as a result of his own stupid endeavors, but it was something of a pleasant surprise. Kevin wasn't a malicious person and in no way wished an ill fate upon him, but if he ever had to see him again, he wouldn't complain. After contemplating a world without Bruce for a few seconds, Carrie broke the mood with lighter news. I've been taking care of your dog. Kevin smiled instinctively and contagiously. Oh, thank God, I've been worried. How is he? Carrie nodded again, unsure how to answer. He's good. It's just... What? Kevin felt a twinge of concern, his smile beginning to fade. No, it's nothing like that. Relax, man. It's just... Well, I took him home with me the first night you were hurt. He's a super sweet little guy. He curled up on my bed with me when I went to sleep. And in the morning, he was gone. Just couldn't find him anywhere. And on a random hunch, I stopped by the alley on the way to school, and, well, there he was. So now I've taken him home twice more, and in the morning he's either in the alley or hanging around the courthouse across the street. It's weird, right? We have no idea how he keeps getting out of the house, and Mom wants to name him Houdini, but I told her that it was your dog, and you probably already have a name for him. Benji, Kevin offered. Carrie smiled again and nodded his head. He got it.
I like Houdini.
Benji, yeah. That makes perfect sense. He looks just like him. But anyway, I've been feeding him real good and he's gotten a couple of baths, but I can't seem to keep him around for a whole day. Both the boys laughed at the oddness of the little creature that they both had obviously fallen in love with. And before finishing his visit, Carrie had one more bit of news that Kevin was both excited to hear and totally unprepared for. You know, you've got another visitor out there from school. Kevin's mind was grasping at straws. Were Andy or Mark here as well? Maybe a teacher? Carrie could see that he wasn't going to get it anytime soon, so he put the poor boy out of his one misery and into another more desirable one. Yeah, it's Aria Pearson. She's here. She's been waiting for a while, so you probably shouldn't make her wait too much longer. Stud. And that's where the story ends.
Okay, I like that.
That was actually really fucking sweet.
Listen,
that was a really sweet story.
I had a feeling the dog was gonna do. It says this title's Good Boy. Something happened.
Well, we had we had different theories.
Here's where my mind first went when I kept thinking of the title. They're gonna kill the dog, but it's gonna like come back to life like Pet Sematary style. Maybe just like refresh in that alleyway the next day.
Yeah.
And every day they like come back to do something bad to this kid, and the dog finally starts to like get it that these kids are bad, and one day just fucking wipes them all out. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, he killed the bully. He killed Bruce for
the
sure.
The bully already killed the dog, though. He killed one of the pit bulls.
He killed a pit. He killed a
and
pit
it's like
See, I don't know how you get away with that.
I mean, the farmer hadn't seen it himself.
Yeah.
So.
But the truth of the matter is, when you're a kid and you do something like that,
how do you get away from a pit bull at that age, though?
He didn't. He turned around, picked up a rock, and just bashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid deserved to die because he was a psychopath and he would have ended up killing people later on. So
no, we're in agreement there. But like, where did you think it was gonna go? Like as we were going on.
Well, I thought you were right. I thought at one point like it was gonna be about like a relationship, but then when he went in the alley and he heard the dog and stuff, I thought that he's telling all these girls about the dog, and I thought they were going to go to the bully and tell the bully about it, and the bully was going to show up and hurt the dog.
Bunch of bitches.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to be two-facing bitches.
Admittedly, with, like, the title of the story, I skimmed through it, and I didn't see dog, like, anywhere.
Yeah.
And I ended up on, like, the last, like, page, and I try not to read dialogue too much, but stud stood out to me. And I was like, is this just going to be about young love? Like, is this like, I see a girl's name come up in a couple different places. Is this just, you know, is this just young love? But I'm glad it was an actual dog. I'm glad the dog didn't die.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad the dog was a fucking mythical creature that the town that apparently has always existed in this town, to the point that like it's like mythical status made them make a fucking statue based off of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is the statue like come to life, you know, some type of like supernatural.
Or the dog's like a gatekeeper.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Something. I'm glad that like it was just a good story.
Little
you know, a little bit of comeuppance.
Yeah.
For being a dickhead. A little bit of young love. You know, some good. You know, a friend learns to stop being a piece of shit. And be a good friend.
Yeah.
You know, that's always sweet.
Get your shit together.
And then they get to share the dog.
He was a victim himself.
They said that.
Yeah.
They said it as much, but it's good to see it. You know, when we read these creepypasta stories, when you talked about the like video you had seen of like letting in the fucking like you know, goat man or you know,
little cute
fake dog. I really did think like, oh, this alleyway is gonna be a fucking bloodbath. Like, this dog is gonna like, it's gonna like shoot out like
tentacles
insect
and
limbs
shit.
and tentacles. Like, it's gonna go the husky from the beginning of the thing.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna fucking wipe out this entire...
dog didn't deserve that either.
Just wipe out this entire group and then just like turn back into a dog, lick this kid, wake him up.
I mean,
and then he goes,
happy with
where'd
that
all
too.
the bullies go? There's blood everywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna go home and play video games.
I'm gonna go touch Arya's tit.
Yeah, I mean, I would like that too. That'd still make me happy. But
to touch Arya's tit.
Grab some tit.
The dog ripping everyone apart.
That would also make
She
me
agreed.
happy.
She'd like the tit.
Oh my god, I did not.
You grabbing the tit would also make me happy.
I know it would.
Anyway, really happy with the story.
Yeah.
Danny, good job. Danny, wherever you are, unsubscribe, kill yourself. But first, like, listen. Thank you for sending us fun stories. This was a good story.
It was good.
Well, and good job not sending an animal that dies.
Midnight Bride was really happy that the dog didn't die.
I am also happy that the dog didn't die.
Afternoon Groove.
But this isn't your episode.
Yeah, this isn't your fucking episode.
He'll be back for it.
He doesn't even go here.
He doesn't even go here.
I live here.
We'll do another episode with him. We'll get him back on in a little bit. We didn't think he was gonna be here, which is why we didn't do it.
This time I'll wear pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
The next time, I mean.
And he won't play the shower game.
Yeah, cool.
I might play the shower.
And then we had another person here.
Hi.
What did you think of the story?
I heard a dog did not die, so it was
Good,
great.
then.
It was a great story.
What do you
5
think,
stars.
What do you think of these spaghetti and meatballs?
Yeah. Rate these spaghetti and meatballs on
Rate
Yelp.
these spaghetti and meatballs on a scale of 5.
They were probably a 6.5.
I said out of 5. You mean like out of 10?
No, it's a
It-
6.
it-
You're
Yeah,
saying
it's
6.5 out of 5?
Yeah.
'cause
That's
the
some
dog
good
did-
fucking
The dog didn't
spaghetti.
die, and there was justice.
You know what? That's some
Justice.
good spaghetti and meatballs
It was
right there.
it was mom's level spaghetti.
Mom's
Yeah.
level spaghetti.
That's some spooky spaghetti indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't really like a creepypasta. I mean, I understand that like in the early 2000s as like a forum aspect, people can just like submit short stories and then they're just like short stories. But like, I don't know, this has the tailoring of like, I don't know, like one of Stephen King's like nicer stories. He doesn't just write scary shit. He has some good stories too. So it's just like
There was one he never finished that he talked about. I would have loved for him to do.
Was it the lamp that kills people?
No. It's the one about the airport bathroom.
Oh, I love that one too. That's
He
a
was
good
just telling
one.
me about that one.
Yeah, the woman who disappears and then they send another woman in.
And then eventually,
There's just a
like,
line of
Homeland
men
Security.
just wondering like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Homeland Security comes in and they're like, "What the fuck's
But I
going
like
on?"
that he admitted he's just like, but I don't even know what's in there.
We're just gonna make
He's
guesses.
He's like, I don't even
He's
know
just
how
like,
to end that.
I don't even know how to end that. What's in the bathroom? I don't know.
It's like My Chemical Romance.
You know what's in the
Waiting
bathroom?
for Paper Kingdoms to come out.
No one understands that reference. You know what is? You know what's in that bathroom?
Mariah
A
Carey.
giant poop.
A good dog.
A good
Oh,
dog.
I think it's.
That's why all the women won't come
She
out.
said Mariah Carey.
That's why all the women won't come out. There's a good dog in there. They all just want to sit there and pet that good
I mean,
dog.
that's fine. I could sit in there and pet a dog all day.
No.
Is that an innuendo?
No.
No, it's a dog.
That's reference to the story we just read. Have you not been listening?
No,
I wasn't supposed
Jesus
to be
Christ.
here.
He has the touch. He has the touch of the
He
tism.
doesn't even go here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Anyway,
I
let's
will
take
put
some.
violence
Let's
back
take
into
some
this
last words here from Midnight Bride.
Everyone got a little sneak peek of Sprinkle Bear's ASMR video. She did a little bit of snoring, a little bit of snorting.
A little bit of snorting.
thing.
Yeah.
She's laying on me.
So check out her ASMR YouTube. And sometimes there's videos of her eating things, licking her paws, snoring, licking her hoochie, things like that.
Her bunghole.
Yeah, things like that.
Follow
So
her at
support
Little
your
Bit
local dog ASMR channel.
Is this a real thing?
No!
She has an Instagram.
She does have an Instagram.
I know she has an Instagram, but I was like concerned for a second. I was like, do they actually have an ASMR
know.
channel for their dog?
I bet they
I don't
do.
know. I don't think I've
can
seen
see that.
Maybe.
Would people like to just listen to someone else's dog? Just like
It's probably people
I don't
maybe
know.
who have lost their dog who are coping
that's
with
really.
it.
I don't want to think.
No,
about
I don't
that.
want to think
That's
about
sad.
that either. That's really depressing. I
That's
don't want to
sad.
end this on a depressing
Yeah,
note.
me neither.
The dog was alive.
We had a good time until you.
We
just
had a
said
dog
that just
here.
now.
Kill
We have a
yourself,
dog here.
unsubscribing, kill yourself.
Yeah, unsubscribe, kill yourself.
We have
That's
a
the
dog
positive
here.
note to leave on.
She is sleeping right now with afternoon groom. She's very happy right
Daddy.
now. Yeah, with daddy. So enjoy your pets. If you don't have a pet, consider adopting.
If you don't have a pet, just go to your nearest shiny alleyway and look for a
Yeah.
nice little Benji dog.
Yeah.
Remember, here's to love, here's to honor. If you can't come in or come on.
Oh my god.
Whoa. Nice.
That has nothing to do with the dog, though.
No.
Oh
Of
my
course
god.
not.
No, we're talking about the dogs because
That's
they're
one
babies.
good dog.
That's
my God.
one good.
Hell yeah, dog.
Adopt, don't shop. Happy Halloween.